background.
There's a boat, yeah, in the distance.
Sort of thing.
I mean, Gibraltar's a very busy shipping lane. So
that's true. And it is a shipping boat that I believe you see in the distance. The other thing we do see, quite large and moves slowly. Well, in this case, quickly with the Lucio speed, but it's going to be the Ryan Goats coming up from both sides. Start things out with, very similar to what we saw in our previous matchup.
And I do like me the old Ryan Goats mirror. It's interesting that actually we're seeing Patapan flexing over onto this
that's
Divas.
happening a lot more often. Olivier used to play the Diva, and Patapan was on the Zarya, and they've swapped most recently. And speaking of swapping right now, LYNX just want to make the ramp around to start with, but they've taken a lot of damage.
Yeah, Rod Tung can get dropped out here. It's a decent start for Xavier, to say the least. Good trade back, but losing Bumbarapa's mech, and suddenly they all fall down. That's what happens when you lose those tanks in the Goats to Goats.
And it's more so the positioning as well. It's the fact that LYNX TH no longer have the confidence to ramp through that normal room. Perhaps Xavier got there a little bit quicker. They just had the aggression on point. LYNX TH then had to feel like they wanted to move around the side instead, but that was already a bit of a lose-lose scenario. You either get to the middle section late, or you try and wrap around onto the point, in which case, Xavier meet you there.
And now, speaking of Xavier meeting them there, LYNX, they've got to decide how they want to approach this, because Xavier honestly have all these angles on lockdown. What they don't have just yet, though, is ultimates.
And now both teams still just jostling for a bit of positioning here. Queen's nearly on the shatter.
Very aggressive move forward from Rod Tung. Got Queen low, so they've got a lot of space. This is kind of a self-destruct to kind of force some space, actually. And actually, they get a bit more than that. And it also gave them the time to charge with the ultimate. It's a bit of a scuffed charge, but it doesn't matter. The damage was already long since done by the opening frag from Tay and the Earth Shatter.
And a sort of way there as well. He helps everyone else get their ultimate, so almost sort of prefer that he doesn't get the kill, just a small thing. And for Xavier, just get that clean up there. 6 members down, 50% onto the progression chart as well. LYNX TH building up their first round of ultimates. They get to strike back now.
It's such a dramatic voice line that when Earthshatter goes into a shield there, gets Patapan, but that's not really enough. The grab to follow up there from the side of Xavier. Very powerful, the connection onto Bello. Now, sound barrier to steer Xavier safe through Nutsuru-sama's grab.
99.
Tongue gets popped. That's really unfortunate here for LYNX, just not getting any headway again.
And this is where now Xavier can clean up this map. We're nearly at the 80% mark. The Earthshatter's coming up soon as well. They use the support ultimates to survive the grab from LYNX, use their own as well. Olivier stays alive, maintains his energy, maintains the high charge in terms of ultimates as well. And for LYNX now, this is do or die, the final fight for them.
Very aggressive maneuver around the side from LYNX, caught in the backside by an Earthshatter.
That's
Queen,
caught.
but Rod Tongues is far more effective, and they're going to be able to clean house on Xavier. Patapan even choosing to take a dive there. LYNX in the nick of time.
And honestly, LYNX took a bit of a risk. They wanted to make the long wraparound, and they could have been caught by the Earthshatter. But unfortunately, like you said, for them, Rod Tung manages to find the perfect Earthshatter for himself. They get the team fight win, 99% for Xavier. It's a long run back for LYNX TH, but they have to win every single fight now in a row. Olivier coming up to Graviton Surge, and that's the one you got to watch out for, especially because Patapan has self-destruct as well.
It's just going to be a bit difficult. Bumbarapa's really got to come up big here, I would say. Unless Nutsuru-sama can charge up a grab in record time.
Patties as well, just waiting for that transcendence that could be the tool here.
The window's still open. Now it is actually closed just that little bit more. There's more of an opportunity for LYNX to do something about what Xavier have on the table.
Both teams have a grab. Which one uses both at the same time?
Yeah, both, and both self-destruct in as well. It's actually Bumbarapa that finds one. Self-destruct on the other side of the coin does not get anything. And now Patapan's actually a bit separated from his team, has to wrap back around. So for the time being, LYNX are going to be able to hold on to this point.
Yeah, they got 50% now. They don't need to probably win 2 more fights here. Both teams are basically out of ultimates. Bello should be using his rally as soon as a team can group together here. And for Xavier, this is now a very difficult position. Both tanks, both main tanks on the right will have Earthshatters. If Queen can outplay Rod Tung, this will be Xavier's map. If not, LYNX will be pushing to overtime.
Rally out of Bello. Now, Rod Tung can connect this, like you said. There's a real opportunity. They've kind of missed that opportunity now. Queen, well, not missed in that the Earth Shatter went wide, but Queen has his Shatter. So it's going to come down to who gets the better connection.
We need Zobi's sound barrier here. That's what we're really waiting on. Until that happens, there's a bit of risk.
Oh, double whiff out of both the Reinhardts. No one knocked out for it, and Queen ends up losing his life a bit too far forward. And now suddenly Xavier really bleeding from every open wounds there. LYNX actually might cap out of this.
I think this is going to be it. 95% Transcendence used by Thittercorn at a wrong place. Doesn't want to die, but now they can't use it to cap.
They dive for the point just to force the overtime. Pan and Queen will lose their lives out here. Actually, Queen has survived for just long enough for Olivier to come in with a grab.
Where's the damage?
Ooh, not quite able to get the pile driver. Big Boop keeps a bit more safety, but they're still not actually getting kills. THK, clutch rally to keep himself alive. Can't say the same for Thittercorn and Olivier. And now THK himself does end up a late casualty in this fight. Xavier, a valiant effort right at the end there. Tay just kind of stalling that one out for a moment. They actually did have a chance to turn it back around. It was less than ideal, but you've got to credit LYNX for keeping lockdown on that point and capping out Sanctuary.
And this is another sort of example of, unfortunately for Xavier Esports, the discipline's not quite there. They kept wanting to throw ultimates. They kept wanting to play for the, I guess, instant fight win in some sort of ways. They knew they were 0 to 99. They had the 99% advantage. If it goes to the opposite overtime, they can still win. They just needed to build up advantage, build up a bank of ultimates, but they never really got there. They were playing on even ultimates against LYNX for the majority of that comeback. And unfortunately for Xavier, if they just played a little bit more defensively, waited for some more ultimates, didn't throw ultimates in some of those fights, eventually by the time we hit both 99%, Xavier would have had more.
Now, ever so slightly asymmetric, is Xavier going to be sticking to the Rhine Goats while LYNX flex onto Winston. Rodtongue does quite like that Winston.
Queen now, see what early damage he can find here. Xavier getting very aggressive.
That is the advantage that the Winston gives you. Nice catch on Olivier to really leverage that. Now the rest of the team turning tail and running, not already getting out of this one. And he does go down, but that's not enough of a counter trade. Actually, Bello might go down. No, not quite. Stays alive.
What we can tell here, this is a big change around. LYNX actually get the first cap. We're about to get the first cap and a decent cleanup as well. That's a lot of members on Xavier down. If anyone thought this was going to be a one-sided game, LYNX wants to tell you a different story, and now the possibility, the opportunity to really snowball progression here. There is a chance they can clean up 2-0 on Busan.
This is certainly not the start that Xavier wanted. Dropping the one map on Busan is bad enough. But actually in a bit of an awkward spot here. Neither team, though, necessarily coming up on ultimates. Oh yeah, that's the kill. Willikers just drilled down. Just exposed for the briefest of moments, and suddenly Queen is donezo. And this is now LYNX able to rotate into some ultimates.
That's about 3 members down for Xavier as well. Not the biggest cleanup, which means not the hugest amount of ultimate charge, but they get enough. Importantly, on the right members as well. It's sort of Summer about to hit Grav. Olivier not even halfway there. The supports are about even on both sides, and well, Bello's going to have his rally just slightly faster. Xavier have to play up against a Grav, and that's tough.
I mean, everything that Xavier have got to deal with here is tough. Very
super early on the
Transcendence. I think they were maybe expecting a grab that didn't actually come. Now Natsuru-sama's just going to wait that one out. Looking for the opportunity to commit grab. Still finding it thrown out. Here we go. And that was quite an early Transcendence out from Patties, but forgive it because the kills all coming through for LYNX, and Xavier just in a worse position than before.
And honestly, Panties could just use it for free there, because first of all, they do win the fight. He does charge back. If he's playing up against the Zen on the other side in Thittercorn, he's about to overtake here just ever so slightly. Knowing that they can just use it for posturing, use it for position to get the Graviton Surge down, it was really Thittercorn's initial Transcendence that kind of put the nail in the coffin there for Xavier. The sound barrier used by Tate as well. This is now in a really unfortunate place for Xavier to be in. They do have the Earthshatter though, so this could be turnaround.
I mean, this is the advantage of the Rhino over the Winston in this particular situation.
But look at the high ground.
Yeah, this is such great
Can't Earthshatter the high ground.
Earthshatter's no one instead. Didn't even get Rodtongue on the low ground, who immediately throws one punch back harder. Second one to find Olivier. And now look at this man, the fists flying everywhere. Thittercorn as well. That's a shutout. That is a shutout on the second point of Busan. The bottom of the table team against a team tied for first, who will definitely not be picking up a 4-0 tonight and now have to really rethink what went wrong, because LYNX just won Busan.
And I don't think Xavier are going to pick up a 4-0 this entire season now, because they only have one more match after this, and it's against Talon, and I would be very, very...
it would be insane.
That's possibly not going to happen, but... I mean, this was probably their best chance for comparison's sakes. Talon Esports did manage to pick up a 4-0 here in, I would say, a fairly comfortable sort of fashion, very similar way they did against We're Eternal Gaming as well. But looking at this match, on its own right now, LYNX TH have certainly leveled up. We talk about the fact that they only have one realistic chance now to break back in, win their next 2 matches in a row against Xavier and then Nova. This one's obviously the harder of the two on paper. If they can do this, if LYNX do win, you got to say they're probably going to beat Nova as well because Xavier are the harder team, which means LYNX can force a 2-3 tiebreaker scenario. But for Xavier, this really hurts them. This would take them out of first place contention because they would guaranteed to be losing on the map differential as well if they get to the 4-1-4-1, if they do beat Talon. So this is a bad place for Xavier to be if they lose.
Now keep in mind, look, it's not over until it's over. And the one bone I'm going to throw Xavier here is I would dare say they are significantly better than LYNX on especially the payload-oriented maps.
When Pattypan gets to play DPS.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just that. It's also just they do have a tidier macro game, I would argue, which does help when you're in those more momentum-based situations with the payloads being a factor. Assault could kind of go either way. I'm curious to see how that one does play out. But what that kind of means is, actually, I think that puts the pressure on Xavier to win Hybrid, not just to start turning the series around, but because otherwise you do risk going into an Assault where you're not necessarily favored, not necessarily unfavored, but that's not a comfortable spot. And also, you need to win Hybrid to kind of prove that you could then also win Escort. And then at the very least, you can force it to a game 5.
And we're still at the stage where the LYNX definitely haven't won yet. Let's be clear about that. They're one up in the series. Now, we are starting to talk about scenarios where
we've seen plenty of one win and then 3 wins.
Yeah, we are. I think it opens. I think it does open the door to conversation about like now it's a lot more possible they can win. Usually, when you see the first map goes super poorly for one team, maybe unlikely they get back, especially if it's the lower ranked team or the underdog in the series, like what we just saw in our first game tonight. But right now, they're sort of in the place where I think you are right in terms of what we've seen of Xavier so far in the season. They are 3-0 in second place for a reason, and they should be now pushing for a potential map 2 win, which is going to be on Numbani, coming up on your screens very shortly. And think about Xavier as well. You mentioned macro game here, and in general, I would agree that Xavier have the cleaner macro, except for what we just saw on Busan, where they looked horribly lost, unfortunately, especially on downtown as well. A lot of what you'd expect clean macro to be was kind of out the window there. Just, a couple of questionable ult choices. Not really finding, even the Earth Shadow was just super awkward as well. They should have known, look, that's not where you want to be committing. You have to force them onto the low ground, play in the low ground, then get the Earth Shadow. You have the opposite happening as well. LYNX TH, in terms of macro, much cleaner. They know, okay, we're playing up against a Shadow. The way we counter that is we play the superior range here with the fact that we can be on high ground because we're defending. They got to push into us. As long as we keep high ground, they're not going to get a good Shadow. That's exactly what happened.
I mean, it's like what you said actually at the start of the series, is Xavier do have some issues with discipline. It's actually now cost them. It's cost them quite significantly. It's not cost them the entire series. It's not cost them the first place bid yet, but it still cost them. And it's troubling to see that now 4 weeks deep into the competition, this is still a weakness of this team. Because the reality is, I don't care if you're a front runner in your group. I don't care if you do get that second place finish, which is still a really good finish in a group. That is going to cost you somewhere down the line. Maybe in your quarter, maybe in your semi, and if you get there, it might be in the finals, but it will eventually catch up with you if you do not fix it now.
And that might happen tonight. There's a real argument where if they go down to LYNX, the reason they go down to LYNX would be because of those macro issues.
Which would be the biggest kind of kick in the pants,
It certainly would be, but also LYNX TH, man, what a massive turnaround if they can do that. Let's actually head into Numbani, though, get this map underway and see what kind of adjustments between previous map and now both teams are going to make, because we have also seen a decent amount of teams in winning scenarios win even harder.
A lot of birds.
Should be a good sign.
I mean, is it?
Hey, isn't that where LYNX is?
I mean, honestly, maybe. I genuinely don't know.
I don't know.
The money's
You know what? LYNX is Disney, and Overwatch has got to deal with Disney, so that's okay.
Anyway.
And on the defense here, Xavier. THK on the top. We have sort of seen this defense before. We usually see it with McCree as well. It's McCree top. This time it's going to be Pattypan on the Sombra. We talked about Pattypan being on DPS. Now he gets to be there. What can he do?
Unleash the beast. Nutsuru-sama, though, will be able to match that. And honestly, if Nutsuru-sama does get a good EMP in, it really hurts the Xavier defense. But ouch, taking shots of Bumbarapa as well.
You know what else is
Even
ouch?
getting D-Max.
61% for Paddy Pan off of one engagement.
Big ouch.
That's a huge deal. He gets the D-Mech as well.
Oh.
Oh, yeah,
man.
not too sure about that one.
Bumbarapa took a dive as well to reset the mech there. So this is LYNX going, nope, this push is not going to work, but they've already lost the minute.
And by the way, very difficult the duel against Torb when he has the overload there. Gets 100 armor. You're a Sombra, dealing quick hit scan damage. Armor directly counters you out. Paddy Pan's gonna have the EMP for this next push, almost certainly.
I mean, just nearly doubling Nutsuru-sama in charge here. It's just so incredible, the discrepancy.
Panny's low, Panny's down.
I mean, the defense does have a bit of an advantage there, but yeah, I mean, even threading the needle on Panny's Rod Tongue as well. They're not even going to need this EMP for this fight. Xavier are in such a good spot.
This is this is more what you'd expect out of Xavier. There's certainly a lot more one-sided stuff things out. There's only 2 fights in a row now. Almost 2 minutes off the clock. Certainly 1:30 gone. No ultimates online yet for LYNX. Rod Tongue going to go onto the Winston. Nutsuru-sama going to give up on the EMP entirely, go on to Azaria, and this, to be fair, if they want to play for the long game, is probably correct. They want to go into Goats now before it's too late.
But in the short term, this EMP is really going to hurt. Drops all those shields down, makes Panny super vulnerable, makes Nutsuru-sama that little bit more vulnerable, and has found a good inside track on this rotation as well. Now just waiting for the moment to commit.
Look at the health bars, but Bumbarapa already taking so much damage on the way through rotation. Paddy Pan just scouting this entire time. He's being patient.
Oh.
He's going to spot this wraparound as well. LYNX TH, this play has already been spotted.
Yeah, they don't have the element of surprise, and they should know. They should know that Paddy Pan will be tailing them this entire time. Now they're trying to commit to this high ground. A bunch get pulled off.
It hits everyone.
The EMP goes over. He immediately finds Pannies, and the rest of LYNX just crumble off the back of it. And that play took a long time.
That's the biggest issue. LYNX TH should know they're playing against EMP. LYNX TH should know that they're heavily disadvantaged going into that fight. Their best course of action is to take the fight as fast as possible. Just get into the face of Xavier as quick as you can. They tried to make some long rotation plays, maybe even try to, you know, do some sort of psychological play there, go different directions, try and trick them when, look, honestly, Paddy Pan's just getting so much information because it took so long. I mean, Xavier still win. Here comes Molten Core.
Right on the path that we're going to rotate through as well. It doesn't do too much, but it does just enough to Bumbarapa that they can D-mech him pretty cleanly. Now LYNX are in a really tight spot. Do you just take the dive? Bumbarapa certainly thinks so, but they're trapped in an awkward space. They don't want to give up ult charge. They can't go in. They can't go out.
And I honestly think the Rhine here is a bit of a problem because they're playing Rhine. They're forced to try and make these rotations as well. And I do want to say, look, they are doing this because the Rhine limits them. If they had the Winston instead, they have some dive pressure. They don't have to do what they're currently doing. Waiting for Bumbarapa to try and fight the team. It's not going to happen.
What a smart position from Xavier. They knew LYNX were just going to hide out, so they sent 3 members
they lose high ground.
Discord. Yeah, this is so huge. Again, the hold is just absolutely massive, and this is already lacking Bumbarapa, the only person with the verticality.
Oh wow, look at that.
Around. Paddy Pan, thanks to the D-Mech, has an EMP that he commits. Olivier just smacks them down with a self-destruct, and this is going to be absolutely nothing but nothing for LYNX. If Xavier needed to turn things around, they certainly have.
And this is exactly the kind of shutout you want to see from Xavier against a team like LYNX TH. 2nd place versus 6th place. This is about the difference in skill level that you would expect on paper. And Busan now, you might have to look at that and think it's maybe an outlier. The team for Xavier just needed time to readdress the scenario, need a bit of research just to think, okay, Busan went absolutely awfully. Got to go back to Numbani now, where they're in a position where they completely full held. And it's not like, oh, there was some long engagements there, and maybe Xavier just came back in by the skin of their teeth and they had to recontest. No, it was just LYNX TH losing members, barely touched a point, barely contested, barely had a fight, constantly had a member down, and the icing on the cake is Bumbarapa trying to regroup the team. That obviously gets spotted out because Paddy Pan's on the Sombra scouting, and they just get D-mech'd.
I mean, I want to touch on that play because it's so intelligent by Xavier. Here's the thing. LYNX, they have 5 members. They know they're in a 6v5 if they try to commit. They don't want to leave that room. They also have no way of scouting. So Xavier, knowing that that's the case, actually sent 3 whole players. If LYNX had committed then, they would have actually been in a 5 versus 3 on the point. But they didn't have the information to know that, so they still couldn't commit. They sent 3 players around. You've got the Torbjorn that can do the damage. You've also got a lot of damage that comes out of the Sombra, and you send the Zenyatta for the Orb of Discord. It is such an intelligent play, knowing that Lynx are so information-starved in that moment.
It was actually a lose-lose scenario. Even if Lynx pushed, because there's no Diva there, the Holt from the Orisa player Queen just drags all them off the point, which is what happened anyway. So even there was no 5v3. They couldn't take the 5v3 because there's no way they assault the high ground. It was unfortunately just a bad place for Lynx to be. But can they turn this into a happy place now? It's going to be questionable. They are going to run Farah, and also the Sombra and Xavier are going to have Patty Pan playing the McCree in a Super McCree comp up against the Farah. This is probably quite ideal for Patty Pan.
It so is. You can test the Mercy, you can test the Farah. You've got the Bash Bang combo against Natsuru-sama. I mean, this is ideal, realistically, for Xavier. It does still come down to execution, though.
I do like they're taking the low ground approach here. They don't want to spend too long trying to break high ground if they can't do it.
That's the flashbang onto Rod. Tongue really eats some chunks, but actually Natsuru-sama was able to wrap around. Nice catch onto Patapan as well. So, first push for Lynx has been repelled.
And this is where if they actually got the kill into Rod Tongue, that would have been very good. Patapan a little too aggressive. You note that on his first roll forward, he took a full shot from Bello and had to go back on half HP. So, maybe just eating a little bit too much spam damage. You also have to be considerate of the ult charge. Bello is 80%, 81 now towards that rocket barrage. And Xavier do have to be considerate of it.
They do kind of want to combo it with an EMP though. Natsuru-sama's a fair way with that. It's not a... Ooh, that hurt. Nice Kong. Yeah, it's not mandatory, but it certainly makes that stick a little bit better, that rocket barrage. But at any rate, it's just another string in the bow right now for Lynx and Xavier making the rotation. They kind of have to here.
We do have Patty Pan on high ground now, so they made the long rotation. They have control of the point. They just need the kills.
But it's tough. Oh, Deadeye versus a Rocket, and it's the Rocket that wins that one out. Good catches on Panties and Rod Tongue, but with Queen down, and you got to remember, Zobi still has a res here. This is still a good position for Lynx.
The other thing is, when you have Bello on the fire here with the sort of faster rockets that he can shoot, the faster fire rate, he lands two directs directly onto Patty Pan. There's no way he gets a Deadeye off in time. Swaps onto a Tracer, possibly just to get back to the point on time. I don't know if he'll actually stick to this. I don't know that he should actually either, because he doesn't contest the pharmacy. The McCree does contest the pharmacy.
This is an interesting situation now, because this is kind of what Lynx need here. And if this can be clean macro game as well, if they can get a good fight win off the back of that EMP, they're just kind of better poised. But so far a 1-for-1, Zobi a little bit low. They're having to commit a lot more ultimates into this, so not the high economy fight that they were looking for. Now actually Xavier, they do lose THK here. So Xavier, I don't think they can still push through this one. They are starting to go into full retreat here. Patapan out, Tay trying to back up.
Oh boy.
Not gonna work.
Honestly, we warned of this moment. We said, look, if Xavier are going to lose, it's going to be on Discipline, it's going to be on Macro. THK are going to go onto the McCree now. It's no longer Super McCree. There's no flash, there's no shield bash there, and they have to be careful with Patty Pan's life.
I mean, this feels, I mean, this is possible. This can work for Xavier, but it kind of feels like they changed off something that would have worked eventually.
Honestly, there's no room for error anymore. At about 1 minute, if they fail this push, they're going to be into overtime pretty soon. And then they'll be looking at a draw scenario if they do lose. And Lynx have a ton of ultimates. They are so far ahead.
And that's the thing, they're likely to lose. You've got self-destruct that contests THK and Tate. You've still got a rocket barrage that can catch someone on the ground. Ideally, someone like Queen, maybe Thetacorn. I mean, they just have everything at their disposal. Panties low but not out. And now Olivier D-Mech means Bello can channel that one freely. He only finds Queen, but you'll still take that one. Remember, there is still a res that can still on Bobby. Oh dear,
nice.
That's a good, nice catch by Patapan. Nice get away there from Natsuru-sama to avoid that pulse bomb. Self-destruct up now from Bombarapa. Doesn't get anyone.
Bello's coming.
Xavier, they're trying to rescue this one here. Lynx, they're trying to go back onto the Doomfist. Natsuru-sama down, but they trade back with Tay. Rod Tongue so low, and they can't get the healing in there in time. They maybe need to look for a res. Here's Bello now. What can he do? Answer is nothing. And Xavier, oh my goodness, oh my gracious. It looked like it wasn't going to happen. It looked like that blast fight was just going too poorly at the start, but they managed to recover. They managed to turn it back around, but could not have come any later, and it nearly didn't work.
I want to say Bello forgot about THK there. If he manages to either catch THK in the rocket barrage or is at least considerate, forces THK out, finds a better angle, or is more reserved, maybe doesn't use the rocket barrage and just finds the initial damage regardless, that could have been very different. I want to say that because Bello went down to THK and then Lynx didn't have another way to challenge THK in the air, that's what really cost Lynx at the end. And then you have another case where on top of everything else, you have a sort of risky resurrection when Padapan's ready to counter that, goes and basically snipes the Mercy out. Those two plays combined together for Xavier entirely put them back in control, puts them back in driver's seat position, and gets the win on that map.
It was a really kind of bizarre one because the full hold that came out from Xavier, it felt like what was going wrong for LYNX was a lot down to the micro game. Actually, the macro game from Xavier was very collected and calm. But then on their attack, it just kind of went out the window. Like I said, it feels like they changed off something that would have worked eventually for something that might not have worked at all. I mean, they still did it. It wasn't pretty, and it still doesn't feel disciplined.
And I think even looking at the Numbani result, this is still anyone's game. That can have gone to anybody. And right now, because the series is 1-1, it can still go to anybody. But we are going to take a bit of a break. When we do come back, we're going to resolve this. Who's going to come out on top? Is it Xavier or LYNX? Find out after this.